Hi, everybody. Welcome to the September 13th Tinderbox Meetup. Both the marks are gone. They're on flights, I believe, off to Chicago for the Hypertext conference. And I understand their paper on the Information City is getting honorable mention and or if not in the running for best paper. So we'll see how that goes for
Is
them.
there a link for that yet? Is it up
Not not not
publicly?
not, not yet.
Okay.
Hopefully it will come out. But the whole Information City concept, I think, has been really well received, powerfully taken, and personally,
Uh,
I personally still can't figure it out. Like how
well,
would
now the digital twin has been resolved, we'll lower our sites to digital city.
digital city? Yeah, and I don't even know if digital twins been resolved. Although I am working on, and I can show you guys if you're interested. I've been toying and playing with a digital twin, and I've been working with the developer to get the ability for me to publish out of Tinderbox right into my digital twin to train it, which is a pretty interesting endeavor. But we left off last week working with the Git stuff and the whole versioning control, so we can continue with that. And where we left off last week is that we would experiment with creating a run command where you could actually be contributing to the repository from your actual Tinderbox file. So if you wanted to, if we were so inclined and interested, we could continue with that discussion, or we could have another dialogue. What would you like?
I'd like to kick the Git down the road. And what was the thing you mentioned you're working with? Or MCP? I'd like to know about MC more about MCP because I'm hearing about it, but I'm not an early adopter.
Well, I don't think any of us are. I mean, Jacob, maybe you could, if you don't mind, that you seem to be our
Well,
resident MCP expert on today's call, and you've been having some success with doing the MCP Claude interactions. So could you demo that for us?
I could talk about it. Unfortunately, a lot of my Tinder boxes, I mean, I'd like to show you, but it's got like, stuff I can't have out on the internet. So,
But could you open up a fresh one and just
oh yeah, I could probably do that. Give
yeah.
me a quick minute. Maybe chat about something else real quick and
Yeah,
I'll
open
open
up a
some
fresh
stuff up.
Tinderbox
Yeah.
and have Claude interact with it and just re-share that with us to give us a sense on that.
You know what has perplexed me is the fact that Tinderbox is evolving to a good point with integration with Claude, and so you need to turn on and enable the integration from the Tinderbox menu, which makes absolute sense. It puzzles me that Tinderbox loads a fresh new document, and that document doesn't have hints already enabled, so that you're ready to work with Claude. It seems to be a out of sync
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
anomaly.
Mark's talked about that in terms of he has to open up a new document for whatever reason. And
Mm-hmm.
adding in that code to force I could see that being a whole new complication of having to add in those new
Yeah,
capabilities. Setting features or pre-installing stuff into a new Tinderbox file is kind of
yeah,
against the status quo of how the tool tends to work.
yeah. I think we're caught in a new era of workflows, though. So, say you're in a meeting or in the midst of a function, and you say, "Hey, I'm going to ask Claude to start a Tinderbox document about topic X." It's not as straightforward because you've then got to configure Tinderbox after Claude has launched to make sure it's got the hints feature so that AI is um, loaded already. It's a little bit tricky.
Right, and then supposedly there's some like pre-configuration instruction file that you'd want to be putting in that hints folder and
Yeah,
I don't know what you'd really say in that. Is that like
I
where
don't either.
is that where you're giving?
Mark has posted some things about having it do posters easily, and I've been not successful in figuring that out because I would love to have Claude launch a poster for me of some data, and that hasn't. I haven't connected the dots there yet.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't either. All right. Anybody so what's your question about the hints folder, David?
Just sort of a reminder to myself for the written log. that it's yet another thing I need to look at
Well, the hints folder
in
is
Tinderbox.
the hints folder is kind of like where all the magic is.
Oh, good. I love magic.
That's where
No.
the action code, the templates, the step, the product, the not the product, the action code and the is kind of housed. All of the natural language processing elements are housed. So,
Oh, God.
It's sort of the
I hate
basement where all the plumbing is.
so RTA is Roger Alexander. Yeah. Wondering who RTA is. How are you, Roger?
Colder and winter.
Okay. Kim, how are you doing? What have you been working on?
I actually been moving actually, working. We got a new VP that took over one of these projects in a program. So the last 3 months I've been like working 60 hours a week at work. So I haven't had the chance to do be alive at all actually.
Okay.
But just moved recently to a upstairs apartment. But I don't have a life. Well, hopefully next week I'll have a life. I get back to whatever I was working on before. But I'm sort of here, but not really.
Got it. Makes sense. All right. Hang on.
All right, I think I'm ready here.
Okay.
Sorry, my desktop was, you guys get it. It
I get
had
it.
all kinds of crap on it.
The floor is
All
yours.
right, let me yeah, and just feel free to sometimes I get going with these things and I don't stop for questions and stuff, so feel free to interrupt. Let me try to find. Okay, so this one here. Can you all see my screen?
Mhm.
All right, so we've got Claude here. Just make sure I should check this. Tinderbox is enabled. So this list here. So if you click on this little settings, I guess kind of submenu, you've got a list of all the things that are connected to Claude. So I've got a couple of things like Slack. I actually built this Apple Mail MCP thing. I'm a Mail user, so I've got Claude integrated with Mail, so I can have it read my mail. And then we've got Tinderbox, and if you look under Tinderbox, we've got a bunch of tools that Claude can use to interact with open and enabled Tinderboxes. So I've got a Tinderbox here. It's brand new. To enable the Claude integration, I believe it's in this menu. Yeah, so this will be, if it's not enabled, this will say disable AI integration. Once it's enabled, I believe you need to quit out of Claude and Tinderbox and open up Claude, which will then open up Tinderbox. And then a good idea is to, as I think Paul had already maybe mentioned, is to add the hints in. Just going to outline view here. Which includes a container that has kind of instructions to Claude. So it's got readings. This kind of explains to Claude how Tinderbox action code specifically is used and how queries can be made of Tinderboxes and that sort of stuff. This is a note that I believe Mark drafted related to how posters are created. So it instructs Claude on how to create posters. And then there's this other kind of container single note right now that instructs Claude to say, hey, after your session, go put some, go add your learnings to this container so that when I start up again, you know what you're doing. So actually what I have here is I actually have let me see if I can find it. I got another Tinderbox open on another screen here. I actually have a little prompt that I feed into Claude that
Yeah, and like,
reads
how do you train who Claude? Yeah, how do you tell Claude who you are? Like, you are a marketer.
yeah.
You're
Well,
a
let's get to that
professor.
here in a minute. So this sort of prompt I've drafted kind of tells Claude how to interact with Tinderbox, and I have this. So there are no prompts about using Tinderbox and about prompts about using Tinderbox. Yes, so I need to actually probably tell it which Tinderbox document to look at. Well, let's see what it does actually. Let's submit this. So this is going to tell Claude to go out to my open Tinderbox here. If you look, we've got in document settings, this checkbox also has to be enabled, or it says enable AI integration. So if you look, it's actually going out. You can actually see these note calls. So it actually read in. This is the note that it read in. It ran this query like path contains hints. I actually ran an entire hints container. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, it pulled out the readings, it pulled out the notes, um, and it's ready to go. So now it knows how, now Claude knows how, with these kind of light trainings on how to interact with this tinderbox,
And
fresh
can
tinderbox.
and can the readings essentially be like your internal rag? Like,
Yeah.
this is what I want you
Well,
to learn.
yes and no. I mean, you could use any, the kind of cool thing about the integration is that you can use any note in your tinderbox as your rag, right? You could tell it to, hey, go out and read my note titles. And it'll go out and read your note titles to kind of get a sense. You might not want to have it read all your notes, depending on how big the tinderbox is, because I think you've got like a 200,000 token limit in Claude. So if you fill up that context window, is what it's called, like you're going to run out of space for other things you might want to do. So that's just one thing to be cognizant of. If you're using a very large tinderbox,
Yeah.
you need to kind of tell it, oh yeah, you don't want to read in the whole thing. Like if I've got millions of notes, it's going to run out of space. There's also a limit, a functional limit. I can't remember what it is, to how much data in each of these tool calls Claude can consume. I think it's like 1,000 tokens or something like that. Did I answer
Okay.
your question, Michael?
Kinda. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Kinda. Okay.
So I would say to kind of put a finer point on it, the stuff that goes into these notes, these reading notes, are things that you want Claude, like idio. I would say, I would phrase it this way: idiosyncrasies of this tinderbox. Like I want you to know about it. Like this is my, so to your point, Michael, you might want to put the role of the AI in these readings. Like, hey, you're my marketer. You're doing
Right.
this with this
That's
tinderbox.
what I'm going
Yeah,
at.
yeah, yeah,
What I create a note called AI role, and then
yeah.
okay.
And put it in this notes container. Yeah, absolutely. And it would read that in and say, okay, when I'm interacting with this tinderbox, I'm Michael's marketer or
Right.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, let me just give you a quick example. So I've got I've got some travel. Say I have some travel coming up. And I want Claude to go out and do some things for me regarding my travel. So I'm going to tell it this. I'm going to say, and I'm totally free riffing, so this might like explode on us. Let's find out. Um, I'm going to say I have some upcoming travel. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to create a note that's going to be out that. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Let's put it somewhere else so it's an actual note. Um, so I'm gonna say upcoming. Oh, dang it, what happened? Okay, I'm just gonna put it in here and we'll move it later. Upcoming travel. Just paste in my upcoming travel here. So I've got some upcoming travel. Put
Now,
this
would
up
you stick that
here.
up there? Or, okay. Yeah. Got it. All right.
Yeah, I just pasted this in. I have it in another note. So I'm gonna say, okay, so read my upcoming travel note and create separate notes for each of my uh, trips in the in a new slash travel container. And I'm gonna just tell it in Tinderbox so it's really, really clear about this. Let's see what it does. This gets better, but I got separate notes for these things
Yeah.
might be helpful. So yeah, and just one thing to note, like these tools, like the interaction kind of takes some time. So if you can kind of club like multiple instructions into one one prompt, that might not be a bad idea. Uh,
And I
so if you
see it.
got a few things you want it to do, you could kind of, like I said, club it into
Can you
one
tell it
little.
where to put stuff? Because I can see it
Yeah.
sticking at the bottom of the file.
Oh, I don't know. I imagine it can manipulate the outline order. I haven't dealt with that. So, um, these are actual conferences that I'll likely be attending. I'm actually not going to Dublin this next week, but and then what I could do, actually, what one interesting thing is, I said, okay, now set the start date and end date for each of these new travel notes to the dates noted in the
You have to tell it that those start date and end date are attributes, or that taken for
I'm
granted.
just doing it so no, yeah. Well, let's see. Let's find out and see what it does. And then we'll just take this one here and do a start date, end date. Let's see if it actually like puts it in there. Yeah, so I got the start date for that. I forgot the update. And then these are all like, so I'll start my next prompt. Can you pull the web address and location for each of these events and put that data in the or I think it's address actually, address and URL attributes. So Claude has another tool. It's actually not, actually it might be in this list. It's web search, I think. Yeah. So it can actually go out and do a web search for each of these notes. And as soon as it's done doing this, and pull in, let's see if it actually got, yeah, so I got the end date for that too. Let's see, this is done on 7/9. Yeah, so it got the dates right. You look, it listed them here and it's got them here. And yeah, so let's see if it can actually go out to the web and like pull some more, data on these things. Yeah, so it's going to search the web and you get the idea. Like it's pretty powerful. Like you can use this stuff to kind of clean up notes. Go out to the web, search stuff, save that back into your Tinderbox. Yeah, and my kind of my usage patterns is I typically don't use AI for like content creation per se. I normally have a bunch of content that I've either created or other folks have created, and I need to like summarize for reports I'm writing and that kind of thing. And this is where in my world, AI really excels because it's stuff I know about. Like I know when it's like writing something wrong because it's not like something that's out of my wheelhouse. And I found that it's pretty effective, like nowadays. Like it often, gets the nomenclature right. It normally summarizes things well. Doesn't always say things in the way I would, and I'll update it. But yeah, this is, so let's see if it actually did any of that we told it to do. So we do address and let's look at URL. Yeah, so pulled it out. There you go. And these are right. ATP conference, EATP. Yep. So there you go.
Click on the link and see if it actually opens up.
Yep. I gotta pull over my move to new window. Okay, there you go. There it is.
See, that just saves a shit ton of time.
It does. And while it's off doing its thing, I can be working on something else. And I don't know. This sort of stuff really tickles me pink when the kind of robots do what you tell them to. Yeah. So anyway, you get the idea. Is there anything else you want me to kind of show off here while I got everything up?
Yeah, I mean, just talk about like the privacy and security implications. Like what's happening there.
Yeah, I mean, so that is something to be cognizant of. Let me maybe just back up a little bit. One of the reasons I like Claude, although they've changed this recently, I think, is that by default, and I think this is still true, by default, they don't use your prompts or your data in their training. Unlike OpenAI stuff, you actually have to opt out to all that crap. Like, so if you're putting proprietary information into, say, OpenAI, you need and you don't want it used for training, you need to go in and make sure that you've opted out to that stuff. So that's one thing to know. Claude, I think that's on by default. You actually have to opt in to using your stuff for training. They used to not even have an option to opt in. I think that they added that recently. And as with anything you use, from like Google Drive to other stuff, we're at the mercy of the security practices of these IT firms because they have my prompts, they have my data, they have the data that I fed to it using these tools through Tinderbox. So like every other IT company in the world that we use, we're kind of at their mercy when it comes to data security and privacy and that sort of stuff. And I think we all need to kind of make a judgment call as to how comfortable we are putting our data or allowing others to, in this case, host our data on their servers and that kind of thing. Did I answer your question, Michael? Maybe you're getting at something
Kind of.
else.
Let me say it again, though. We have to. How did you word it again? we are.
So I would phrase it this way: like we're kind of at the mercy of, say, if you're using Gmail for
No, I get it. No,
for
it's
your
more.
mail,
It was
right? We're
more.
at their mercy as to how. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I got that part. We're at the mercy, sure, but you actually made it sound like a choice, like we have a choice to choose to use these tools or not, and I don't think we have that choice.
Well, what do you mean by
Really don't.
choice?
Well, I mean, like
Like,
Copilot is embedded into Microsoft Office now.
yeah, sure. No, that's a
No,
fair point.
and if you want to use Office, you don't have a choice. If you
No,
want to
I get your point. I get your point.
if you want to get a job, you have to be curating a LinkedIn profile. Like
Yep.
you
No,
know,
you're right.
if you want to be at all technically cognizant to act, like I just heard a job or the other day, was it Amazon? Amazon is actually actively firing people if they are not consciously demonstrating their use of AI.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Right? So they're like, you have to use it as part of your job. And if you are not, you're going to no longer be part of this company. So at some level, we don't have a choice to be using these tools. And so therefore we are having to forego our privacy and security to be able to be what, digital citizens, part of the cog of the workforce. Yeah, how do we balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just gonna sound kind of like obvious, but I guess in my world, like you gotta make a judgment call, like how willing you are to, I guess, trust or I don't know, these tools, right? And I think in this particular case, as it relates to Tinderbox, like it's pretty easy to turn off um Claude, in this case, access to Tinderbox. I just got to tick this thing, and it can no longer access anything in my Tinderboxes, right? So if I've got super proprietary, confidential stuff that I don't want Claude to ever see by accident or otherwise, um, I tick that box, and I'm off to the races, and it doesn't have access to
Yeah,
my
but
Tinderbox
again,
stuff.
which tinderbox, and if you have multiple tinderboxes,
This turns off this toggle here turns off the whole integration. Like it
I
won't use
understand
any
that. But what if you have
tools,
what
right?
if you have multiple tinderboxes open?
Yeah. Yeah. So what you do in that case, that's a good question. You can go to the document settings. You can actually turn this off, which will then make this tinderbox, unaccessible to Claude. The tools actually won't let you interact. Like the way that Mark has implemented the integration, the tools won't actually let you now interact with this tinderbox, and
That
that's a feature
particular
of tinderbox, not Claude.
got it. So
Does that
have,
make
have you
sense?
tested that? Like you have,
Yeah, well, kind of
right?
inadvertently. I've opened up tinderboxes where this wasn't checked, and I'm like, why can't you access?
Right. So
So
why don't
we
you?
could try it right now and
Yeah,
just
why don't you try it
say,
right now?
yeah. So I turned it off. Let's say, just give me. I'm going to say, give me a summary of my slash travel container, and it should be infer from context. I'm talking about Tinderbox. See if it does that. Yeah. So yeah, and I get an error. So
Okay,
there you go.
now turn it back on and ask.
Okay, let's try it. And then we're gonna go try that again. I'm gonna just stop this and have it try it again.
Okay, and is it smart
Uh,
enough if you have two tinderbox files open? Can you create another tinderbox?
I might need a restart. I am not too sure if this is actually gonna work or not. Oh no, it looks like it worked. I'll see if it does it. Oh no, it got it.
Okay,
I don't know if it got it from the Tinderbox. Let's see if I got any notes back. Yeah, I don't know if that actually worked. I think it's producing the summary just from the the context, the what we've already fed
well,
the chat.
why don't you have it create a new note?
So yeah, what we can do is
Just
say,
say create me a new note.
oh, actually, what we can do is, all right. So save your. Let's just see what it does. Save your learnings to the, and I don't have this committed to memory to the. Oh, actually, I've already saved some stuff in here. I didn't see that. So I'm just going to copy note path. Let's see what it does. So it said working with travel data. Let's see if it comes back here. I think this might work. It's still writing. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, you might need to restart the Tinderbox after you
All right, try it.
disable and enable it.
Right.
So stop this here. File. Oops, nope. Oh no, I don't, not Tinderbox. Let's see here. So file, open. Let's do this. I got this going. Let's just make sure that's checked. Document settings. That's open. I'm just going to do this again. Nah, I think I got to probably restart Claude.
All right, try that. We got time.
You guys are super patient. All right. Let's go with this. What do we do here? So if you notice, I open up Claude, and it's also going to open up Tinderbox. File open recent. This one. Give me 1 minute here. I'm just open up that previous chat. Yeah, one of the other, I guess things worth noting is that if you've got if you don't want to like start a new chat, you've got, these chats get saved, so they've got all this context in here. So I'm gonna just try this again and see if it creates a new note this time. I don't know. We got something not working. Michael, we borked it.
You broke it? Like it.
I don't know. It looks like I might need a, let's see. So this kind of goes to Paul's earlier point. Sometimes it is kind of finicky. See, we restarted the tools in the list. They're in. Oh, this is my bad. I didn't turn that back on.
Got it.
So there you go. I didn't yeah. Let's see if this works. This should work. So there you go. If you turn off the tools, it can't do anything. Like, so Claude also enforces its own, sort of rules.
That's good,
It
right?
would seem. Yeah, it's good. Looked like it did this twice. I don't know why. Working with travel data. It should have created a working with travel data in here. Which I don't think it did. But it's not getting errors. No, it thinks it worked, but it did not. Well, let's see where I put it. Let's see, create note. So created Tinderbox. I don't think it set the container hints Claude notes. Maybe we gotta refresh here or something. No. So it got confused. It actually created it in this other Tinderbox that I had open, which I think got opened when we restarted stuff. So there you go. It actually created the notes, but I created them in the wrong Tinderbox.
All
So
right.
that is one thing I've learned, like when actually prompting, and I didn't actually do this in this demo. I normally always specify if I have more than one Tinderbox open. I normally always specify the name of the Tinderbox. So in this case, we would have given it this name, here, and it would have known, oh yeah, I need to go create it there. So I think if we were to say, save your learnings, oops, save your learnings to let's say in the what I call it, MCP demo Tinderbox. It should work this time. Yeah, so it's going to go out and get the document, make sure that it has access to that. it's now setting the default document that it's going to be using for making these tool calls. And now it's creating the note. Once that's done, we should see it show up here. We don't know what to tell you. Didn't say Claude Notes. I think I created it in here again. Well, okay. I don't know what to tell you about that. We might need to have Mark take a look at that.
Okay.
All right. Any other
But
questions? I think if I close out this, that'll probably fix this problem. But
why don't you close it all out and just try?
I'm sorry?
Why don't you close it all out and just try?
Sure. So let's do this real quick. I'm going to actually start the server again. Quit. But this, you notice it'll actually open up Tinderbox here. Oh, it opened up that Tinderbox. And let's just make sure this is the only one open. It is the only one open. Let's go back to our previous chat there. All right, let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's funny. You get there, like, I don't know if you guys have been following this, but you get kind of different responses. Like, like, you guys could do the same thing 10 times, and you'll get 10 different things.
Right.
With some commonalities. Yeah, so it's not attaching. Not too sure why. Let's
Is
just make
that
sure this is on
Claude?
again. I
Different?
don't know if it's Claude or Tinderbox.
No.
Yeah, so that's enabled. That's enabled. I'll hold it. Why is that grayed out? That might be my problem. No, that's enabled. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't had this particular problem before. Clearly, I didn't do what I needed to do with the demo gods this morning. They're not shining down on us. So, and the other thing to note about too, it will, if it can't do something, it'll try it a few different ways, which sometimes is kind of nice because the readings actually help quite a bit. Like if you have it read out this, the stuff. Oh, actually, it worked. There you go. So I figured the first way it tried, it failed. I'm not too sure why, but then it looks like it was able to create these 3 other notes. So there you go. There they are. Huzzah.
Right. And again, the practicality of that for you is summarizing notes.
Yeah.
Here's some interviews for us. Pull out the sessions for me.
Yeah, so in this case, it was like I wanted all the information in my Tinderbox about travel stuff. So this was helpful for that. I also have it. You'll notice here, I've got it connected to some of our other systems like Atlassian, which is Jira, Confluence, which is a wiki. I'll have it pull data out of those systems and summarize it for me. So say we're working on I lead software development team. So we've got various projects underway and epics that we're working. And I'll have it summarize epics and say, hey, give me the status of this and that. And it's really good at that. It's not, again, generating content. It's just taking the content and giving it back to me, feeding it back to me in a way that I can either report on it or kind of do more of what I would call forest management. It's really excellent at that for my use cases anyway.
Yeah, and where are you getting the Altesian MCP? Is that available from Altesian?
Yeah, Atlassian. This is actually one that Atlassian supports. Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So they got their own. In fact, if you go into like the if you go into the settings, they've got a bunch of connectors that you can just enable. These ones down, some of these like the Tinderbox one, Tinderbox installs. This is a third party one I've installed for Slack. There's one for Office 365 that kind of uses a combination of a few different things to create Office 365 documents. And again, this is one that I actually authored that does stuff with mail. So one of my use cases is go
And
ahead.
how hard was that to author yourself? And
It was. It's funny you mentioned that, Michael. I actually had Claude write it. I ended up rewriting parts of it, but the version that it wrote actually, quote unquote, worked. It was functioning. So I gave it some direction on, hey, I need an MCP server for Apple Mail. You should probably use the Apple script bridge to do it, which it did. And because there aren't like, APIs into Apple Mail. Unless you're like reading flat files or that kind of thing. So yeah, and it did a great job. And I can like say, hey, summarize, these emails in my inbox, or create this, take this content that you've drafted for me and put it into a new mail message. It does those sorts of things, and it works pretty good. And I get like, hundreds of emails a day. So it's helpful in that regard on some days.
Yeah. Yeah, and how do you, and then once what is it? Do you mind walking us through that? Like, what does it look like to write a MPC?
Sure. Actually, let me. Oh, I might actually have a window here. Give me 1 minute.
This is fascinating.
I could actually show you
We
this.
can go all the way back for David, for all of our efforts, but also David Eddy's initial question. Like,
Did we miss it?
define what we mean by MCP, and like what is that, and how does that work, and
so MCP is pretty simple. It's a simple is probably not the right way to frame it. It is a kind of a lightweight protocol that Anthropic defined, and now other AIs are implementing or using, that allows an AI to do a few things. One, understand the tools that are available to it. So you saw, in this list here, each of these connections have tools. So here's all the Tinderbox tools that are available. And then it defines a protocol for interacting with those tools. And the tools can say, hey, you need to give me this. So actually, I could show you an example in this MCP. So actually, this is the OpenAI's Codex, which allows you to go out and actually have it do stuff with your code. So you'll notice here, I've given it a few tasks. I'm like, oh, well, I need for this MCP server thing that I wrote, I need a README file. Oh, and then I probably need some tests and update the README file on how to update the tests. And I didn't like the tests that it wrote, so I had it actually do some more documentation and update the tests. Let me see if I can open up the.
While you're doing this too, can you like? I see you're now using Claude and OpenAI. Like, what and I read a research study the other day. Like 90% of college students like pick the one AI and never use another one. So, like, what's the benefits of the different AIs?
That, I don't know. That might be like a tabs and spaces question, but for those of you that are programmers, you'll know that. This is what I do. I don't know if this is helpful or not, but it seems like there's kind of an arms race going on between these AI providers, and there's some things that OpenAI does really well, like their Codex stuff, which you're kind of seeing here, is really cool. And you can have it like do this stuff for you, like coding in the cloud, which is what this is. And then, Anthropic, actually, I think Anthropic's better at writing code, to be honest. So I actually had Anthropic wrote the bulk of the code for this project that you're seeing here. But now I've been kind of experimenting, that'd probably be a better way to put it, with Codex, which is a product of OpenAI's that can do some coding for you in the cloud. And you see this is an example here where it wrote some documentation for these methods that integrate with, or that do stuff with Apple Mail. So let me just show you real quick the project. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of nuance to it. So without kind of getting into that, so this is the MCP server. If I click into the server here, it's actually pretty simple. Like, these are the tools that are available, and there's a file that kind of defines the tool for each of these. And then this starts up the server. And what Claude does, and when you integrate it with Claude, it'll start the server when it starts. And so we go look here, I think, to kind of answer your question, Michael. So for instance, this is I could just kind of show you like the create mail tool. So this is send mail actually. So what you do is so this tells Claude, this little block of code here tells Claude what it needs to provide to this tool so the tool can do its work. Right. So in order to send a message, I need a to, I need a CC, and these are arrays, string arrays in this case. So I can send a message to more than one person, CC to more than one person, BCC to more than one person. I need to provide a subject and then a body of the message. And the neat thing about this is you can it's not demonstrated here, but you can also and you can also define it as here. You can require, this field is required. So in this case, we're requiring this body field. And then there's this like little actual script that just gets executed where it sets the to, the CC, the BCC, the body of the message. And I don't actually have it send it. You'll see this is commented out actually. But it'll present it. So I can like look at it and say, oh, I'm gonna modify this and change this. And then I can actually hit the send button in mail. So
Yeah.
you kind of get the idea. Like this is how the tools tell the AI, this is what you need to give me. And then this is the description. So this is what I tell Claude in this case, like, this is how you use this tool. Send an email and give me this stuff. And then the tool then knows how to do that.
Okay. And what about the read email?
I can show you that real quick too.
And then how do you?
So I got a couple here, so I can actually get the list of selected messages out. You'll notice that this just has a description. I don't actually need any information other than just, hey, call this tool to get the list of selected messages. So it gets the selected messages in mail, iterates over them. It actually creates a little JSON payload back to Claude that includes all this information here that you see, and then it's done. So this is how it gets selected messages, out of Apple Mail.
Selected as opposed to just everything in an inbox.
Right. Yeah, I have another tool. It's date bound because otherwise it'd like take forever. But I've got another tool that does, I think it's the search message. Oh, it might be mailbox messages. Let's see what this one does. This one, so you got to provide an account name, a mailbox name. What does this do? Get the latest. Oh yeah, so it gets I think I set it to 100. So this tool here gets the latest 100 messages out of a specified mailbox in Apple Mail, and this is how it does it.
That's pretty cool. And then how do you get that installed into Claude?
Well, this is a private repository because there's probably some cleanup I have to do before I offered it up to the world. But I'll show you what the config file looks like for Claude here.
And then a big question I have is just like, how does the normal muggle figure this out?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's a little, you gotta there's lots of terminal commands and stuff. I could probably do a demo on that at some point. But oh, Michael, you're gonna have to blank this out. I got private stuff in here that people probably can't see. Let me just get a version of this.
If you want, I'll make sure that screen in particular is.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't worry. It's easy for me to do. So you want that black screen that just popped up blanked out?
Yeah, because I got private keys in there for Slack and stuff.
No problem.
So I'll take that stuff out real quick. So it's not there. All right. So here we got another document I cleaned up. So you'll look. This is actually the Tinderbox. This is the config file for Claude and its MCPs that have been installed. This is the one that Tinderbox installs. So it says, hey, call this thing. And I'll give you my list of tools back and all this stuff. This is the one that I created. Again, it's calling, this is written in Ruby. So it's just saying, hey, call Ruby and have Ruby call this server thing, which I think I showed you earlier. And you're off to the races. So it's not real difficult. Once you have an MCP server somewhere on your disk, and this is where mine's located. It's in this development folder.
You just tell it where it is.
You just tell it where it is, and it's off and running. But they're not hard to configure and install from that perspective. It's not real, and this is just a JSON payload.
Got it. All right, I've been asking all the questions. Anybody else? David, Bruce, Wynn, Andreas, what are your questions?
Through Claude, can you ask it which document is the default document that it's going to act on?
Let's try. I'm just
kind
going to do a new chat here. Actually, I'm going to open up I'm going to create a quick new document here so we can see how this behaves. All right. Now let's make sure that, and by the way, I believe that if the enable AI is on, all new documents have this checkbox enabled. So just be cognizant of that. And then I'm just going to create a test note here real quick. Test. This is a test. And then if we go, all right, so I'm going to tell me which documents in Tinderbox are open. And let's just make sure that my tools are enabled. And they are. Okay. I don't actually know if that tool works. Nope, I guess it does. There you go. So it has that. Did not get the other one. Let's tell it that. There are actually two. Check again. And this is a new, actually, this is kind of an interesting point to be made. Like, I think this is a new session, so I don't know if it pulls in any of the readings and stuff that we've got, which kind of tell it how to do queries in Tinderbox. So it's going to try a few different things. I thought we had a list documents tool. No, it just has a get and set. I think you might need to tell it. Oh no, it actually found it. No, there you go. So I was wrong. So there you go. So that's a good point. Like sometimes it doesn't get things right either. And you have to say, well, try that again.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it that Claude is always acting on the upfront Tinderbox document, so you don't have to choose it automatically, just acts on the most upfront Tinderbox document. And once the AI stuff is enabled in the version 11 of Tinderbox, then once you open Claude, it automatically also opens a new empty Tinderbox document. That's what is described in the release note 11 in Tinderbox.
Look, we could test that. I think that was how it was originally. I might be wrong about this, by the way. I think that's how it was originally implemented. I think now Claude has access to kind of every document that's open. And I found that kind of in the later backstage releases anyway, I've had to sometimes specify, hey, do use this document. Otherwise it might, even though it's the frontmost document, it might get it wrong. So let's just see here, create a test note in my test doc tbx. I think what this will do is it'll actually, even though this is the frontmost document, it's going to actually go out and create this test note in the test doc. Let's see what it does. I might be wrong about this.
This is cool, Jacob. And while Claude is doing its stuff, did you put some stuff in the Claude profile in the way it's supposed to interact with Tinderbox? Something Mark Bernstein also described in the release note of 11, version 11.
I did not. So I don't have anything specific in my Claude profile for that. Typically what I do, and I have got a prompt here in another Tinderbox, which I probably can't open, where I kind of specify, where I tell Claude, like, here's how I want you to interact with my Tinderbox. And typically that comes out of this readings and this notes folders here. So when I start a new session, I'll say, hey, Claude, go out and read all the notes and readings, and go out and read all the notes and notes. And now you know how to interact with me or this particular Tinderbox.
I see. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bruce.
Jacob, first of all, it's fascinating. And it's funny, I'm giving a technology talk at a light level to psychologists next week.
Oh, fun.
If I showed them 3 minutes, no, if I showed them 30 seconds of what you've done, they would be horrified. But my question is this, in light of, oh God, I forget where it was, but I guess there was some company using, I want to say it was Claude or one of the other major tools to run their employee database, I believe it was, and it gave strict directions not to touch the code. And yet the AI went and deleted all kinds of information and then apologized for what it had done afterwards. So with that in mind, does anybody else recall, I think it was out of Denver or something? It's like 3 weeks ago. I remember reading about it.
No, I didn't hear that one.
Well, I haven't heard about this, but it's not surprising, to be honest. Like I'm not shocked that
So
it
my
did
question
that
along
something
those,
like that could happen, I guess.
yes. So when you tell Claude, do not do X, like don't touch the proprietary information that is secret that we're working on, what level of security in your own mind do you have that it is completely 100% trustworthy?
Yeah, I would, if you don't want the AI to do, sort of quote unquote the wrong thing or have access to data that you don't want it to have, like I would probably pull that out of a tinderbox that I have it interacting with, to be honest, like because it's very easy for it to kind of trip over itself and get access to stuff that you don't want it to. And it may even do it unintentionally. It could just write a query that returned that note that you don't want it to look at. So I would say, just, and if you know, I won't deep end on this, but if you want to go read about, some scary stuff, go read about prompt injection and, and how LLMs in general, Claude being one of them, are susceptible, very susceptible to this sort of attack vector. No one's immune to it. It's a very difficult problem to solve.
Did you say
So
prompt rejection?
I'm sorry, it's called prompt injection. Yeah, and I'm happy
Injection.
when I get off the hot seat, I'm happy to share some articles in the chat about
Oh,
that.
great. I've
Um,
had that experience with Gemini Pro, and now I'm using Gemini Ultra. I'm working on a relational database, and I will be specifically, oh, I say the database is clients, and out of nowhere, it will say, this is what you need to do with the professionals database. And I'll say, we're not talking about that. We haven't even, what, don't bring that up. And 5, 10 prompts later, it will bring it up again. And I will say, that's the wrong one. That's not what we're working on. Oh, it becomes obsequious. I am so sorry. I should not have done that. You're very right to be frustrated. It thinks it's a life coach. Uh, and that seems to be the AI method. But so I'm not working on anything that, my God, if it were to show up on the front page of the New York Times, my career would be over. And I would welcome those articles because that's one of the things. Uh, I mean, I will admit I'm using a HIPAA compliant version.
mhm,
It says it's
mhm.
HIPAA compliant. I will have it go through and summarize client records or pull out key client information. So I'm trusting it at that level, but I still have in the back of my mind, how do I really know that it's going to behave? How do we make, and that seems to me, we don't yet have, I don't mean handshake in the technology term, but handshake in the I'm from the South and I want to buy a washing machine and you're going to guarantee it. We have a handshake and we have an agreement. I can't trust AI to keep its word yet.
I don't think any of us can. And if you do, yeah, that's I advise against it. Don't trust the thing. And I think that's what you bring up a good point, Bruce, because one thing I do, like as it's interacting with stuff, is I do look and kind of look through these interactions that are happening, and I make sure that it's not doing anything that, kind of out of the ordinary and all that. So one of the nice things about Claude is that it does give a very clear picture to us as users what it's doing. And yeah, I'm doing a web search, I'm going out and calling this query to in this case it's like getting the current document, like so I think as a good practice it's good to kind of look and see what it's doing. um so that, hey, it's pulling in the right data, it's not going out to the web and like sharing your data with other people, that sort of thing. And then one other kind of note, like, hey, if I'm doing stuff with a tinderbox and I really don't want anything leaking out to the web, I can turn off this web search, stuff or any other, sort of tool that interacts with the internet. So that again, like it's kind of the Wild West. I'll put it that way, and it's one of those things where I think we all need to kind of be cognizant of the risks, and yeah, kind of make a judgment call on our own, as to okay, well, if this like note leaked out, like what what are the ramifications of that?
Well, and on that note, I'll find it and post it and see if I can find it as we speak. But there was an article I saw this week where a guy found his ChatGPT sessions publicly accessible via Google search.
Yeah, you probably shared them, and yeah, you can share sessions.
He shared some of the links with some friends, which then opened up those links, and then they became publicly available. And so he then in the Medium article talks about how you like stop sharing those links and then you tell Google to ignore that content, and you can like try to kind of get it back, but sort of maybe.
Well, Michael, like it's permanent ink. Like once it's out there, it's like, well, then what do you do with the archive? The Internet Archive stuff, and like I don't know. It's like once it's out there, it's out there. So
right.
It's caution, Will Robinson kind of thing.
Yeah, danger, Will Robinson. And there's
danger. Yeah,
one of my favorite books ever was a book by John Halprin in 1999 called The Truth Machine. And basically the idea was guy invents this bracelet that you wear, and with 100% certainty, you will know if another human being is telling you the truth. And then the whole book is about this idea that what happens when we can't lie to each other, and what implications does that have on society, and the laws have changed. Like if I walk up and tell you, have you conducted a murder? You have to say yes. If you had, and then what kind of human amnesty do we give, and how does that affect all of human society? And then the fun part of the book is there's the one guy that can lie is the guy who built the system, and then the implications and all hilarity ensues from that. But one of the interesting things was, and also in the David Edgar's book of 2015 on The Circle, where big conglomerate companies, basically think Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, all as one company called The Circle, and it knows everything. And you just at times start to learn you just have to assume everything is public. Start with the assumption that everything is public, and then live your life. And it gets really interesting when you start thinking about it through that lens. Fascinating.
A question for Jacob.
Yeah.
I love this discussion, and I really learned a lot from hearing from you. Can you spend, a minute talking about where Tinderbox fits into your, stack of products? I mean, obviously you use a lot of things, both work and otherwise. How does Tinderbox help you?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was kind of when I started like looking at Tinderbox, it was like I found a tool, and now I had to find a problem for the tool. I didn't have a problem, and then went and found the tool, right? So I've kind of come at it, from that angle. And as I've learned more and more, through this community, namely this community and the work that Michael's done, I have found a variety of really interesting uses for it. One thing that I use it for is kind of what I referred to earlier is like forest management. So, projects and kind of understanding the status of those. So I have a Tinderbox where I track, percent completed for a given epic, any sort of notes that I have related to that epic. And the nice thing that the wonderful thing about Tinderbox is that I can have discrete attributes for things that I want to do calculations on, or I need a report out on, right? You can kind of do it with tools like Obsidian, and I think kind of comparing Obsidian and Tinderbox is unfair because they're very different things, like apples and oranges. But all that to say, like Tinderbox really excels at allowing me to kind of capture the data in discrete, sort of fields or attributes that I need to like do calculations and do roll-up reports and that sort of stuff. And I use, so I use it to capture those things. And I've got some APIs into other systems, and some of the stuff we're doing here with Claude is one of them, that goes out and does stuff for me. But then I also generate reports out of Tinderbox using kind of
Yeah,
the pioneering work that Michael's done with Pandoc, and where I can take a collection of notes, drafted in Markdown, or use an export template and get a Word document for it. So I use it for a lot of, like, I guess, reporting workflows. One thing that I've started doing recently, and I'll end with this, is I have, like, I call it my life box. I kind of take daily notes throughout the day, reflections, and things I got to get done, and that sort of thing. And so I've kind of created, it's kind of like a private blog. I grew up in that era where you don't put everything on the internet. So I've got this, like, little blog, a private blog to myself that I built out in Tinderbox. And it exports. Actually, I could probably show this. It's not anything too proprietary. So this page here, like, I actually have a landing page. This all comes out of Tinderbox, that has all the links and stuff that that kind of are in my world and that I use, and all that. And then I've got my daily logs in here, and then I got some light project tracking that happens in there. And again, I'm using, in this case, this is using Tinderbox's export capabilities to generate just a little private website that's on my machine. You'll notice here it's not on the internet.
And do you have a local
that
web server? You have a local web
no,
server?
no, this just reads the files off the machine, right? So I don't even need a web server to do it. I can just open up I can just have Safari open up the HTML files and the Tinderbox generates, and use it here locally. So I don't even need to, like, do any stuff with server monkey business or anything like that, because it's just for me.
So that's just your common links and the things you want to get to.
Yeah.
And things like that.
Yeah. Because bookmarks are really unwieldy, and categorizing them is like a fool's errand. So this is how I've done it. It works for me. Like, I know, hey, if I need to get to this thing over here, this Drata tool that we use, like, I know where that link is. Like, it's like, because anyway, it kind of works for me. So anyway.
Awesome. Well,
Did I answer your question, Paul? Like, that's what my use case.
I really appreciate that, because I think a lot of us are in that boat. There's so many competing tools out right now, and the temptation is to play a little bit with all of them. But I keep coming back to Tinderbox, because the things I can do in the toolbox that Tinderbox gives me, everybody else requires too much knowledge or too much fooling around with. So I stick with Tinderbox as well. I struggle with what you just described, which is keeping daily log files, because I do that sort of thing too. And Obsidian is great at it. Other products are great at it, but none of them allow you to interact with the world you're in as easily as Tinderbox, just as you demonstrated with just dumping out a private web page and letting it create some links. So appreciate that.
Right.
Yeah. It's been,
it's funny to say all the other tools are hard, but yet that's the first thing most people say about Tinderbox being hard. So somehow you crossed over that chasm.
You do. I probably had Tinderbox on my laptop for 3 years before I started using it, because I always said, this is something I should know about. But I didn't know how to go about knowing about it. And I credit you, Michael, for putting a lot of videos out there that kind of walked people, including me, through some of these things to make me say, oh, this is easier than I thought. And now I understand stamps versus, action code and how this could be useful. So there's a lot of value in what we're doing right here in this forum.
I agree. Hey, so we got about 20 minutes-ish left. And Andreas, you were, we did the Git discussion last week at some length, and I published that finally yesterday. And the last step we didn't do last week was showing how to do a Git commit from runCommand. So do we want to spend the last 20 minutes just to demonstrate that really quick, so at least we have it in the repository of learnings? And then
for what it's worth, I know I'm off the hot seat, but I actually wrote a function that does this just the other day, so I could show it real quick.
Yeah. Why don't you show it for us, and then I'll show you my quick and dirty too.
Right, first, cool. A show of hands of who's comfortable with command line.
Well, no, but that's the thing. You don't have to use command line when you're doing it from Tinderbox, so it's great. For
what it's worth, I'm comfortable with the command line, and we know that there's no one lower in the bucket than me.
Oh, there is no hope. Or there is hope. I'm not which side. Bruce even knows what command line is.
Amazing, huh?
How about that? Yeah, so it's a really simple. Once you've kind of initialized the Git, repository for your Tinderbox, I've just got this little function that, git commit all changes. And what it does is it runs a command that does this like git add. It only does the git add if there's been anything changed. So actually, it's actually stringing a few commands together here. And then it just calls a git commit -m. You can actually pass into this function a little commit message, which then gets you've got to do some you got to make sure that the message like if it has quotes in it and stuff, those quotes need to be escaped. And um, this this function that Mark provides in action code does that, and then you're done. It's pretty straightforward.
Is
And
that, is that a little code block you can share with us?
Yeah, I'll push that. Yeah, in fact, I'll just
Email
put it
me
in the
or
chat.
drop it in the chat.
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat. Yeah, I do have actually this actually calls a custom version of my run. So I've actually customized the run command. I call it my run my command, which does which sets up my shell. So I'm using in this case Z shell. It does a couple of like custom things. It also sets the the working directory for this Tinderbox. So I'll also put in these other commands too, because this, if you run it, I don't think Tinderbox by default, I'll have to double check this, I might be wrong, but the run command I don't think dumps you into the Tinderbox's working directory, which is where you want to be when you run this
Right. Well,
when you run this
in my
commit
example, I'll
message.
show you how to do that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So anyway, so this is basically using three functions kind of strung together to do its work. And so I'll put that in the chat, and y'all can kind of take a look at it. But the command's pretty simple if you see here.
All right. And here, let me share mine. And this is much, I was just doing it while you were talking because I promised to do it last week and I didn't. And so I was messing around with it. So let's say we have, let me share my screen. Come on. Okay, so you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. And let me pull up just to show you guys examples of conversations. Nope. Right. So when you can use another great thing when using like chats are to ask the chat to kind of give you like git commands and such. So you can ask. Let me scroll up. You can I asked it like what are the come on, here you go. Like what are the common commands you need for git? So what it's saying is like go to the working directory on your hard drive, then do an initialization to create the git repository. Then you do an add to say you want to add it to the repository, and then you commit that add. Those are basically the three steps that you need to do. And as we demonstrated in last week's, and I'm not sure if you guys saw that because I'm not sure if it's on the right screen. Come on. All right. So that is that kind of shows you the steps that you'd want to do with that. So then I created, and this was just a simple file I was playing with. So let's go ahead and add something new. Something new. All right, and then add some text in there. Okay, so I've added some text and I've got something new. And so then the stamp that I created basically mirrors what you just did. Where's my, yeah, where is my, come on, darn it. I don't know where my inspector is. Tinderbox inspector. All right, let me close Tinderbox real quick and reopen it because I can't find my inspector on all of my screens. There it is. Okay. All right, do you guys see my inspector on the screen or not? There we go.
Yep.
And then if I open up Tinderbox again, and All right, so you see, I got a virtual a desktop I'm running, so just make sure you see it. So you see my Tinderbox file in the inspector? Yes, no? Okay, got it. So what you want to do is if you want to create a new, I'll just show you how I did it. If you wanted to create a new, with a really simplified repository, let me go ahead and open my desktop here, and we'll go here. So here's my desktop. So you'll see here, I've got this Git repository sitting here. So if I created another directory on my hard drive, and I said tbx git2, and let's, for fun, we'll go ahead and add a new Tinderbox file in there. New, no. All right, and we'll save this Tinderbox file to this new directory. Git2, tbx2, right? So now I've got a new file there, so we see that, and we'll play with doing that later. So if I go back to this file, so I added a new note, I dropped some stuff in, and if you look at the stamp, so if I wanted to go ahead and say, initialize, so a init is the initialization of creating a new Git repository. And so if you were running this in command line, you're telling Tinderbox where the Git app is. If you're actually in command line, the command line already knows that natively. And then if you use the C flag, what the C flag does, it's equivalent to telling Git what active file or directory you want that that repository to be working on, and then you're telling it a command. So if I apply this command, you're going to see that Tinderbox automatically created the Git repository for me. So this one little command will help you create that repository in the system. Then if I go back up to this one here, you'll see this is the Tinderbox file I'm working on. I'm changing some notes. So, and you can string these commands together. In this demonstration, I haven't. So if I go and say, okay, here's the path to my Git. Here's the command, the command line I want this stamp to be running in. So this case, I'm not doing the version 2, and I'm wanting it to commit the tbx.tbx file, or excuse me, add the tbx file to this. In other words, stage it for the commit. So if I hit that, visually you see nothing happens. I can hit it again just to make sure. Okay, visually you see nothing happens, but what it's done is it's put that in a commit, and then I can say command line this path, so the repository in this path, I want you to run the commit command, and then I want the M flag is the comment. So I'm going to say update tbx file to R3, hit apply. Okay, and now that's just committed that file. And then if I was up here, I could then run my log file, and it will actually update the note and show me that I've just committed the third repository, the third commit of that file. And if I'm using the Tower app that we looked at before, and I refresh the Tower, you'll see that I've now committed. I've got the 3 commits that I've actually run. So this is the Tower is the GUI UI sitting on top of Git on a Mac OS. So obviously Jacob's implementation is much more robust, but you essentially can, using these 4 commands, you can publish out to Git. And then if you're using, and I haven't personally practiced this yet, but using your ChatGPT or whatever, Claude, you could say, what are my recovery commands? So you could say git blah 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 and check things in and out and bring them back into the application and recover those previous commitments that you've done to the Git. But that's basically how you can be using runCommand for the version control.
Yeah, what I like about what you did here, Michael, is you can actually kind of see how this whole workflow kind of works.
Yeah,
because this is exactly what it is, right? You got to add it, you got to commit it, and before you do any of that, you got to initialize it. And yeah, so this is brilliant, and this is exactly
and then once you have that,
how you do it. Yep.
And then as things get more advanced for your own personal use, you can string them together, and you can end up with what Jacob's got, which is one button that kind of does it all at once. But this kind of gives you that step-by-step process for doing that. So Andres, this is something you've been asking for a while. Is this helpful for you? You're on mute if you're talking.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in a car right now, so I can't
Oh, you can't really see it. Yeah.
can't really see it. I just have to watch. I was asking you already when this recording will be up, so I
Well,
can.
I'll put this one up today. I've got time this afternoon, so I'll put this one up today.
So thank you very much to both of you, Jacob and Michael.
So then if I let's just make a commit 4 to see what happens. Commit 4. So I've committed 4, and then if I go back here, yeah, and you see here, here's my commit 4. So I like the Tower app, just because it's a nice little companion app to see if it did what I expected it to do. But you can also use the log, as I was showing earlier, to then log that command, and you'll see now it's logged that next commit. Yeah, and there's the R4 commit. So you don't necessarily need the Tower app if you're using your own Git commands and log. And again, we can practice doing and all the recovery commands and all of that is just something you can practice with and play with yourself. But it's honestly pretty simple. Now, I personally don't really know enough about versioning control and how and when I do this and why I do this and all of that, but that's part of the playing with the process. Okay. So that kind of wraps up our multi-week exercise to experiment with Git. And I'll put this test file up so people have to.
Michael, versioning just allows you to play your multiple personalities that you run in parallel.
Got it. Exactly. So I can, yeah. Yeah. And again, I do think there's a benefit for doing it even as an individual. Like, even if you're not collaborating with others. The one thing I want to do is, like with my textbook authoring with Mary Beth, I want to be able to figure out how to stick it up, stick the Tinderbox file up on a Beanstalk and work on co-writing the textbook we're working on together through Tinderbox via the Git process. I think that will be extremely helpful for us.
Yeah, that would be an interesting workflow. And that could enable, multiple people working on the same, Tinderbox. I'd be really curious to learn how that pans out.
Yeah,
That'd
and
be really cool.
again, as long as and as long as we're consistent, like you work on this section, I'll work on that.
Uh-huh.
Here are your 5 chapters. Here are my 5 chapters. I think there's some initial coordination we need to figure on that so that we're not stepping on each other. But I think that could be really, really helpful.
Right, because this is how books have historically been written anyway.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to have to run it past an editor and substance editors to say, hey, what you said in chapter 1 is actually totally contradicted in chapter 5.
Right.
That's life.
Fantastic. All right, everybody, we got about 8 minutes left. Any other last minute thoughts, comments, want a review of anything?
Just ask in the chat whether someone already had the time to take a first sneak peek at the new Information City view in version 11 of Tinderbox.
Yeah, we've played with it. Let's see.
I wasn't there at the beginning of the session, so I didn't know. Sorry.
Yeah, here, I can show you. I'm still not great at it, but I'll share my screen.
Michael, this is backstage, right?
Yeah, right now I'm currently backstage, yes, but the version 11, my understanding, is coming out any second now.
I think
No,
it was
it's already-
released yesterday, right?
Oh, okay,
Or
so it's already
latest
out, so it's no longer backstage. All right, so if I share my screen just so people can see this really quick, and I'm by no means an expert on Information City yet, but if we even just look at this file we just created, and if we click on Information City, there it is. And somewhere I've got notes out here, but I don't know how to navigate to them. Like where do we find?
Oh, lost down the path rabbit hole.
There it is.
Oh,
There it is. So there's our city of our Git repository files. And so we can, this is the initializing, there's initializing Git there. And basically our notes are essentially in a visual city. And again, I have personally no idea what any of this means.
It sounds like Virtual City needs a map.
Convert to, like, what is this Welsh pub? This is interesting too.
You need to select a building in order to change
Yeah,
it.
so I select a building. Oh, I see. And then these are the building types. So,
Right.
all right.
Well, definitely something we got to figure out throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is, again, Beacon Hill. Yeah. So now I've changed that to a Beacon Hill type house. If I convert it to a dome, now it's a dome.
How long has this Information City been in the pipeline with the masterminds?
Probably 4 or 5 months. He's been playing around with it and behind the scenes. Right. So I guess, yeah, like I guess you can, there's different types of buildings you can put on it. Turn that one into a pub.
Yeah, and you have different stories of a
Oh, I see
building.
here. So here I'm going to make a pub. So there's a pub, and now I can do something with it. So that's the pub. And I can add in text in the pub and all that. Yeah, so that's Information City. But again, it's so new. None of us really have figured out how to, like, I don't know what this does down here.
This
So
is
this
just
was
the
this
Go
was
ahead.
There's
Mark
specific
playing.
attributes for Information City, and you can put that and play around with that um, in the app attribute browser or inspector or however you want, whatever your flavor of updating it is.
Yeah, but my trouble is, like, how do I find the city again? Like I'm a little lost right now. Like, where did the city go?
So clearly we're going to need a tutorial. I happen to think it's a fascinating metaphor concept.
It
You know,
really is.
so much information about where we live and all the buildings, the idea of converting that to Tinderbox as an information repository, I think is brilliant.
In all seriousness, is this appropriate for the Google goggles? Apple goggles.
Yeah, the visual,
That's
it
it.
very well could be. Right. And then
But
once
so
we actually learn, I see. When you can actually, it turns out you can use the arrow keys to move around the city. That's a little easier. And then you can see what, and so that's my log. Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Well, we'll play with it some more.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. I mean, it starts getting us in there. By the way, Andreas, before you leave, how did you do the filter thing again? I forgot.
Since I'm not at a computer right now, but I guess you need to be in outline view first.
Yeah.
And then go to, I guess it's notes, and there is supposed to be no view. Go to view. View. There you have something.
Oh, use filter. That's right. Sorry. Use
There you
filter.
go.
Right there.
Okay.
And
And
then
then it shows up, and then you put in whatever query you got, and then you make sure you save it, and you really need to learn the shortcut of this one, because as soon as you invoke the shortcut, you invoke the filter, and it's getting and you get the filtered outline. But you press the shortcut again, you get rid of the filter, and you're back to the entire outline. So that really is a in and out, just like an immediate swap.
what do you mean shortcut? Sorry.
There's supposed to be a key combination. That's what.
Okay. Okay, got it. Save. Okay, I see. You can save the filter.
You saved the filter. No, but behind when you go in view, and it tells you which shortcut you can use, which keyboard combination you can use in order to invoke the shortcut. By the way, there is a tool. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It's called Paletro, and this is basically a tool you can invoke with another shortcut, and this tool allows you to search the menu of all the most upfront macOS software you have. So you don't have to remember what is the shortcut of invoking show toolbar or show selecting pane in Tinderbox. You just invoke the universally available app Paletro, and this gives you a menu that allows you to search whatever your most prominent app
Commands are. Okay, got
is
it.
available, and you see this. This
Yeah.
really makes it not Paletro. It's called Paletro. Oh, you got it? Okay,
Yeah,
I can't see it. It's so small on my phone. I can barely see it.
Got it.
But anyway, the merit of the filter is that you have a filter, and you flip inside and outside, and as soon as the filter is invoked, the outline is getting filtered, and when you get rid of the filter, then you're back to the outline. That really makes it so worthwhile using it.
Yeah, so if I said color equals red, so I'm going to turn all these notes red. So those notes are red, and if I then go apply that to the filter, I only get the red notes. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and now look at view and see there is supposed to be a keyboard combination behind the filter. Go to view, see for filter, and there's supposed to
Option Shift Command F.
Okay, try it. Or do it. Just click inside the outline and then do the keyword combination.
It's Command. Yeah.
I think basically all modifier keys.
Oh, yeah, here.
But you need to have the filter put in.
Yeah, there you go.
Filter. There you go. Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah. And then once you save the filters, you can, and then I can say save this one for red notes. And so then I can go here and say, give me the test filter of dislog, red notes. Yeah, that's nice. Love it.
Great.
All right, everybody. That was super fun today. Really appreciate it. And Jacob, thanks for being on the hot seat. That was awesome.
Yeah, happy to.
That was really, really fun.
Agreed.
Good to see y'all.
Okay, see you next week. Bye-bye.
Aaron.